Little let it ride action. The World Cup is about set to get underway with Mexico squaring off against South Africa. You've got Team USA tomorrow night against Paraguay in their first match. World Cup is here, biggest World Cup ever. Who you got in the World Cup? iHeartRadio, your official radio partner of Fox's coverage of the FIFA World Cup 2026. Buccaneers, OTAs, I was out there today. We'll talk to Yaya Diaby, Bucs edge rusher. He'll be with me in studio coming up at 5 o'clock. We're on the air to 6 o'clock on this beautiful Let It Ride Thursday. Tim Bernard on the other side. Chris Mathis out today and tomorrow. He has been suspended indefinitely for conduct detrimental to the team. Hopefully he learns his lesson, i.e. rooting for Taylor Swift. He's sending me Taylor Swift videos. She was courtside at the Garden last night to watch that epic Knicks comeback. What's the matter with that kid? He's actually got a couple of days off.
Oh, Mathis.
Oh, Mathis. You know, he's sending me this. Hey, this is pretty cool. Taylor Swift. I'm like, I don't care.
Read the room, kid.
Yeah. I'm still working with him on that. All right, speaking of reading the room, ladies and gentlemen, he's with us right now on the Central Florida Behavioral Health Network WDA hotline. Learn more at cfbhn.org. Rays are off today. They begin a West Coast swing tomorrow night against Mike Trout and the Angels. Marc Topkin at TampaBay.com is with me here on this Let It Ride Thursday. Topper, how the hell are you?
I'm doing good. Big day for you, huh? I think the Vegas odds were extremely against you making it for 14 years in this job. I mean, I think there was a better bet at 14 weeks, if I remember right, when you first joined the station down here.
I think it was 14 hours. I thought I was going to be out after some things I was doing when I first got here. Boy, oh boy, look, you never know. You know, a bag of money, some incriminating photos. You know, that's how you get ahead in this world. You should know that.
Yeah, I hear people suggest that, you know, over the years with like why certain guys get playing time with the Rays and things like that. So I should have known you had some asset there. It comes from some of those wise guys you know in New York, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that part of it, but I appreciate it. 14 years. I mean, you know how crazy it is, and the media business that we live in. I mean, to be 14 years at one place. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing right, but I guess I should keep doing it, huh? Or stop doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're not in my category. I just got past 43 years at the Times, but you know,
Wow.
for you, 14 years is pretty good.
Yeah,
so
that's
let's
nothing
take that
for
and
you.
we can both toast that sometime if you ever buy me that drink you keep promising.
Listen, I'll buy you that drink, Mark. You know, come on, give me a drink. Fix me up a drink. Marc Topkin is with me here. Rays Insider. I think Drew Rasmussen might deserve a drink, Mark, because his last two starts, holy cow, 14 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 walk, 22 strikeouts. And it appears that the Rays are, you know, letting him go and pushing him a little bit more. He's thrown 90 or more pitches in 6 of his last 9 starts. He's gone 7 innings in 3 of his last 4. Mark, what are you seeing out of him?
Yeah, and you know, you look back at the rough start that he had against the Angels, but the one before that one at Yankee Stadium, was also 7 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 6 strikeouts. So, yeah, 3 out of 4 really good. And, you know, I think the point being made about the Angels start was the stuff was fine. The command was just off, which was peculiar for him. That's usually not the case. But, yeah, he's been pitching great. And you know, you're right. They've loosened the leash a little bit. That 7-inning, 85 to, you know, he got to triple digits to one game. But, you know, that 85 to 95 pitch range, it's funny, Drew is, you know, he's so tough on himself, and he's never fully pleased, and he's always find something to nitpick at. And, you know, yesterday what was the best thing about that game? And I could have come up with 3 or 4 things I thought he would say. And he said the best thing was that he got there in 97 pitches, because usually when he gets a bunch of strikeouts, the pitch count gets out of control and it knocks him out of the game earlier. So, you know, you kind of play that out in your head, and you think, wow, you know, that's interesting point, and the way he can be so self-critical even in good moments is a good sign. But yeah, he's just been spectacular. And you know, somebody was asking the other day, we were talking, I think, on Ronnie's show, whatever the name was that day, but like all-stars and things like that. And, I think Drew Rasmussen's got to be in the conversation for a trip back to the All-Star game amongst a bunch of other Rays. But what a spectacular performance he's given them. And they've needed it because obviously there have been a couple spots in that rotation with Matz getting bumped out and Jack still, I think, a fair amount of inconsistency that you've seen for them to need kind of that big three of Martinez, Rasmussen, and McClanahan to pitch well just about every time out.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Mark, because I'm of the belief that I think this Rays team, and everyone wants to talk about an outfielder with some pop, and we'll get into Johnny DeLuca. I'll ask you about that in a matter of moments. I think this team needs another starting pitcher, a workhorse type. The guy that just saw this past Sunday is a guy that I would like to see them make a move for, which is Sandy Alcantara. But your thoughts on what the Rays might be thinking about doing moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I always hate to agree with you, but that's a valid point, and I'll actually say I agree with John Romano, who wrote about that last week too, saying that starting pitcher might be the move for them to make. And I think a lot's going to be predicated, as it often is, and Dr. Neander, as you call him, when he's on with you, has made it pretty clear that their philosophy is if they have a chance to win the division, they're much more apt to make that bigger move. If they're competing for a wild card spot, they're going to probably be more at the deadline of, the kind of shuffling around and, smaller moves or give and take kind of things. So I think if they can, at least stay where they are or close with the Yankees, that's going to enhance the possibility to make a bigger move. And, yeah, another starting pitcher, when you look at now with Matz, you certainly have to question what's going to happen with him, if he's going to come back to the rotation, how that's going to work. I think they're stretching Ian Seymour that going forward. I think you're going to see him get another start. Obviously, Mason Englert would be another option. They've got some guys at AAA that they probably have to look at a little bit more closely than they had hoped to or wanted to. But, if you're in a position to win, sometimes you got to make different decisions. So we'll see. I mean, you can start and dream at the top with Tarek Skubal, who, when he threw that like live batting practice, whatever it was, the first time kind of facing hitters when the Tigers were in town a couple weeks ago, that was done on the field, and the Rays folks were able to watch. So they got kind of a free sneak preview there. I know he's setting out to start on Saturday, which is remarkable, 5 weeks after the elbow surgery. But that's a guy that, everyone's going to be talking about. Alcantara is another good option. And there's probably some mid-level guys that we're not thinking of now, which is, more of how the Rays do things. Joe Ryan would be another name that I think you'd find intriguing if that became a reality to talk about getting him back. So I do think adding a starting pitcher and maybe where the next month goes kind of determines what level of starting pitcher you're talking about, and if that's the number one goal or it's more important to spend more resources on a bigger bat. And maybe it's a second-level starting pitcher.
And with the trade deadline not until August the 3rd, we still have several weeks to go before that market starts to develop. Marc Topkin, Rays Insiders, with me here on The Drive on WDAE. And speaking of Dr. Neander, the doctor will be in the office tomorrow, Marc Topkin, so there will be more probing questions about what's going on with a lot of these injured players, right, Eric?
Do you think he puts the white jacket on just for that segment with you, and he's sitting at home?
He does. I told him to get a white jacket, a stethoscope, and you need to be on the 4th floor for a surgery ASAP. He needs to kind of lean into it a little bit more. So I'm working with him on that.
If Mathis wasn't just sloughing off here and taking the days off, you guys could make like an ER theme or something like that for the intro, like you were paging him to come on.
See, that's a good idea, Marc Topkin. Every once in a while, you come up with a good one. I'm gonna work on that. You worked on a very good article at TampaBay.com. Nick Fortes, Mark. He had a great series against Boston. He had a 4-hit day yesterday, 7 for 10. He's throwing guys out, trying to steal. I don't know what kind of Falefa was thinking, trying to get greedy. He stole second, tried to get third, and then Nick Fortes gunned him down. And, Mark, the ABS challenges that were won successfully by Nick Fortes, he had a hell of a series, and he has solidified that catching position for them.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, he went through. It's interesting because right up until that series, he had been in like a 3-week funk. He was hitting like barely into 200 and not driving in runs or anything. And talking to him yesterday after the game, and he said, we were right. He had been struggling, and he did have to change something. And he talked about was Hello Gloria Estefan. The rhythm was going to get you, right? He had to get a little bit more rhythm to his swing. And it was interesting hearing him explain that. And then also talking to Yandy Diaz, who was like, oh, yeah, by the way, I helped him too. Well, if Yandy Diaz is going to help you with your hitting, I think your job is to sit there and listen and do everything he says, because Yandy Diaz is leading the American League in hitting again. So, kudos to Nick Fortes for working with the coaches to realize he had to make some changes. It's tough for those catchers. They get beat up. They get told every day your priority is, working with the pitchers. They spend a lot of time in meetings and pregame meetings, going over stuff, meeting with the pitcher himself, meeting with the coaches, going over the video, going over the data. At some point, they got to work on their own game too, and it's hard sometimes to do that. When you're going poorly, you can see where a guy might be like, I got enough going on right now. But give credit to Fortes, like I said, for figuring out something had to change, and that was very helpful. They traditionally, as we know, don't get a ton of offense out of their catchers, and Fiducia's been up and down. It looked for a while maybe he was doing a little better, and then not so much. But Nick Fortes has definitely done, I think, what they've hoped when they traded for him almost a year ago now.
Rays have had some injuries, Mark, but there appear to be some promising developments on that front. Johnny DeLuca, a guy who's been out with the strained hamstring, they can certainly use him back in the outfield. What's going on with him?
Yeah, he's heading up, I think, actually today to Durham. He should be in the lineup tomorrow. They're not setting, a set number of games up there. I mean, DeLuca does have an injury history. He does have a history with pulled muscle, so, the hamstring strain is something that he's dealt with before. Talking to him the other day, he took some live at-bats against Craig Kimbrell at the Trop, and Johnny said he was very pleased because it healed a lot quicker than he or the staff thought it would, and how good he felt. So this may be one of those where when they said, they thought he got it bad, but they also thought they got him out and, kind of caught it right away. So it sounds like he is on a good track, barring any setbacks. Maybe that's a week, maybe that's a week and a half in Durham, something like that, where he gets back. And then Craig Kimbrell should also be back. I think they were going to decide whether to activate him Friday for tomorrow's game at the Angels, or depending on where the bullpen was, if they needed another day. They should be in good shape. So I would think you'd see him activated here pretty soon as well. So definitely getting a little healthier. And even Jacob Melton, remember the kind of top outfield prospect who was sent to Durham at the end of spring training, and then they had some injuries, and he was hurt as well, so they weren't able to call him up. That's why you see Victor Mesa, Austin Slater getting signed, some of the other moves that they've had to make with Fraley and DeLuca also going down. But Melton, I think, started a rehab today with the Florida Complex League team, so he'll work his way back up probably within a week to Durham, and after he gets some reps up there, he would be another option if they need some help.
Yeah, there's an interesting name, too. Marc Topkin, Rays Insider, TampaBay.com with me here. You talked about the bullpen and getting Kimbrell back this weekend will certainly help. Bryan Baker has been phenomenal, Mark. You talk about all-star consideration. I mean, 18 saves, tied for second in all of Major League Baseball, the ERA. I mean, I don't know if the Rays envision this version of Bryan Baker would manifest itself, but his numbers are off the charts right now.
I mean, talking to Bryan Baker, TKras, Bryan Baker didn't envision this version of Bryan Baker, and he came over last year, and it was an okay year. He had some rough games. The first one he kind of blew in Boston, and some good and some bad. And I think the Rays would tell you going into spring training, they kind of thought they had, letting Fairbanks go, they thought they had three guys that they would be able to use in those high leverage situations, and that was Uceta, Clevenger, and Griffin Jacks. And I think Baker was probably the fourth guy. Usually, you have 8 people in the bullpen. There's like the A bullpen and the B bullpen, kind of the A bullpen when you're ahead, the B bullpen when you're trailing, or when you just got to cover innings. So I would have thought Baker was probably the fourth guy on the A side of the bullpen. And then Uceta doesn't post yet. He hurts his shoulder in spring training. Clevenger, very inconsistent, also missed some time. And then Griffin Jacks was brutal the first couple weeks. He gets moved to the rotation. And here you are, Bryan Baker's not only pitching, he's your main guy at the back of games. And spectacular job. And I really hope, and the Rays have that great video staff over there, I hope they are doing like a cut-up of all of his reactions to the saves he gets. And because that man, he is the most quiet, low-key, professorial-looking type of guy sitting around the clubhouse. and then you watch him when he gets that last out, and it is, they call it the bake show, and it is the bake show for sure, how he reacts. So that guy has been a huge part of their success.
I love his fiery energy and, the enthusiasm he brings to the table. He's been doing a great job. Rays in Anaheim this weekend, 3 games with the Angels. And then, Mark, they will take on the Dodgers Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That pitching matchup Tuesday really caught my attention. Drew Rasmussen, we just talked about him against Shohei Ohtani. How about them apples?
Yeah, that should be it should be quite a matchup, as you say, and I guess we'll find out if Ohtani's going to hit and pitch. There's been a couple times now where they've had him pitch and not hit, but yeah, that should be quite the atmosphere. And even though the Dodgers aren't yet running away with it, right? They're just okay. The Braves have a better record actually in the National League. The Dodgers have established themselves so much now as the marquee team, like the Yankees were for a period of time too. And anytime you're going to go into Dodger Stadium, it's going to be crazy crowded. It's going to have the Ohtani factor, all the other stars that they have, all the other people that come to Dodgers games, like people like you who gawk at celebrities. You'd see all the people that are sitting behind home plate there. And then there's just the fact that they've been really good. So that's going to amp it up for everybody. And I'm sure the Rays are going to be rising to the occasion of knowing that that's the game. I think ESPN's doing it. They are doing it nationally on Monday night. So it's the main game around the country, Monday night at 10. And then obviously the marquee matchup on Tuesday, then the day game on Wednesday.
Mark, before I let you go, some movement on the Rays Stadium situation. The redevelopment agency is pushing that vote to August. So what is that going to mean for the Rays Stadium situation? This is going to get really tricky when it comes to the timeline. I know the Rays want to have this thing done so they can put that shovel in the ground by September. And I don't know, man. This is going to get, again, really dicey and contentious over the next few weeks. What do you think happens here?
Yeah, I haven't talked to anyone today, but knowing what we reported on TampaBay.com today with the vote being delayed, I don't think that was a surprise, first of all. And in a way, it's probably good for the Rays because if the vote was going to go against them, they're better off not having a vote. So I think you have to have that perspective there, but it sounds like they are still very much, optimistic and very confident they're going to get this worked out. I saw Ken Babby quoted in our website story saying they're going to continue talks. They had meetings still this afternoon. Mm-hmm. So it may be that, there's so many fronts to this, right? There's several votes that still have to come. There's different agencies they have to get on board. There's different ways to set this up. I think they're going to try to have all this in place so that whatever that last vote is, they are ready to go if this gets approved, and maybe the shovels show up the next day. I think that's how this works. They are still committed to the 2029 opening. So like you say, they've got to be in the ground, August, September. I don't think you abandon the project if it's a matter of a couple of weeks, but if it drags on toward the end of the year and they're still waiting on things, then you probably have to have the conversations. And what are the implications if they do have to wait till 2030?
Well, over the next couple of weeks, we'll keep a close eye on that story. Marc Topkin is keeping a close eye on the Rays as well. You can read them at TampaBay.com. Topper, thanks for the kind and not so kind words. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Can't wait. It'll be a nice smoked old-fashioned I think you're going to buy me somewhere.
Oh, let me tell you, man. Done. I got your smoked old-fashioned. We're going to toast to you being at the Times for 443 years and me being here for like 2 weeks, right?
Sounds perfect. All right, buddy.
Thanks, Mark. You got it. Marc Topkin. Get out of here now.
Come on, get out of here!
Oh, boy. Wisecracks. 43 years, man. That's something. I thought 14 years being here was that's pales in comparison to Topper. I mean, he's cornered the market on longevity. But again, tell you what, some photos, some incriminating photos, a pile of cash. Let me tell you, I learned from him. You, all right? I learned by watching you. That's how I've been able to last long here because I'm copying Mark's success manual. All right, I'll stop talking. We have a goal. The World Cup. Goal! Mexico leading South Africa 1-0. That's fantastic. You're not going to get like any more deep breakdowns than that here. 888-388-0957. Text at 82945. Good stuff out of Topper there. In an hour from now, we'll talk about the World Cup. Who's going to take it all? We've got the line. We've got the numbers. We've got the odds. The letter riot is coming up. And then at 5 o'clock, Buccaneer edge rusher Yaya Diaby in studio with me, Bucs fans. So you might want to tune in for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. He's got a football camp coming up in early July. When we come back, speaking of the Buccaneers, news out of the OTAs. One Buccaneer back at practice. Another one is sidelined. And what's going on with Baker and the Bucs in terms of his contract? Details next.